Jaron, to talk about an afterlife in the kinds of company you and I normally travel would be somewhat of an embarrassment because scientists, it's just not the thing you talk about. But since you and I are so private here, and you and I are good friends, I want to ask you about it because this is something I wondered about it my whole life. And I have to tell you, with all the science and all my experiences in life, it's not something that I can easily say is impossible.
Well, um, I think it would do science a lot of good if scientists were more forthcoming about their own anxieties about dying. I think that the presentation that scientists sometimes make to the world of being somehow transcendent beyond, that we have this intellectual discipline that has transcended these sorts of concerns is a little phony, and I think turns people off. And I think it's part of a problem that science has of feeling disconnected from real life for a lot of people, the problem of the perception of nerdiness and this sort of otherness. Now, as far as the problem itself, obviously I have no idea. I mean, just to be very clear about it. I think the chances are very strong that if there is something like an afterlife, it's got to be pretty weird. So, and if it's sufficiently weird, it's as if it isn't an afterlife. It's as if it's something very different. And so the question is really whether there could be some state of remembering this life in some sort of a context, in a situation that's coherent enough with this life for that to make sense and to feel like a continuation. And seems unlikely, but I gotta say, I don't believe we know everything going on here, and I don't see any harm in thinking about it. I see tremendous harm in believing about a particular afterlife, because that's when you get into the clannish competition between people offering different afterlives.
And you get divisive and you feel a
Yeah.
missionary desire to force you to believe my idea because I'm trying to save you even if I have to kill you.
Well, yeah, I mean, anything that decreases the sense of importance of this world is terribly dangerous to this world. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
I
Nicely
think
put.
people who struggle to believe in the afterlife tend to have to dismiss aspects of this life in order to really get there, and then that is terribly dangerous.
I might take slight disagreement to what you said earlier regarding that if the afterlife exists, it's got to be really weird. I mean, in one sense, I totally agree. In another sense, I would like to put that up as a question. I could almost see a 2x2 matrix that one axis says how you generate an afterlife. Is it something that is part of the so-called universe in which we live, an expanded sense of the physical? Physical stuff that we have no idea of today is kind of one box. And the other box, say up the y-axis, is saying it's a totally different kind of experience, like a spiritual realm. So you have an enhanced physical realm and a spiritual realm. And along the other axis, the x-axis, you would have keeping your individuality and then not keeping your individuality, that you sort of become totally merged into something else or whatever. And so you're able, some place, if there is an afterlife, would fit into one quadrant or another.
I think memory might be more important than individuality, but at any rate,
okay.
something that's somehow coherent with this.
Memory, I think, is good. I mean, that's one step better. I mean, at least part of your memory of have some sense of who you were, the continuation of the self, which presupposes memory of some kind.
I'm not aware of any credible way to think about these possibilities in any comparative fashion. So and by the way, as far as the circles I run in, you have to remember I live in the Bay Area. Believe me, trying to date girls in the Bay Area and not believing in that stuff is very hard. The New Age runs rampant here and is absolutely as absolutist and difficult as any fundamentalist religion anywhere. So believe me, I get plenty of it. But now I'm married, I have a baby daughter, and it's a funny thing, I feel corny saying this, but having children, you start to get the sense of all of humanity as one big fractal organism, like this sprouting thing,
Right.
and you get more of a sense of how we're all connected and how we're all this set of cells evolving through each other, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, that's very nice. I think the most profound thing that you say, and I take it as
Hmm.
very profound, is that you're not willing to give up the possibility that there might be an afterlife.
Yes, but I'm also not willing to emphasize it at all. In other words, it's very, see, this is the fine line.
Mm.
To say there absolutely isn't an afterlife, I think is disastrous because it enforces this sort of weird discipline on other people's hopes, which makes them resent science. On the other hand, to emphasize any particular sense of afterlife just turns you into a superstitious nutcase and a gang member. I mean, it's really a bad thing to do. So you have to find the discipline to be
It's a
right in the
very
center
fine
there.
line.
Yeah, and I think it's possible to find that, but you have to be right there, and God, it's work, and you don't make friends. Everybody hates you, but it's right. No, they don't really hate you, but it's hard. You have more people to argue with.